Start with the Pledge of Allegiance to honor our nation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we will suspend the rules and skip our first item on the agenda with DJ Sigler, as I do not see him here. We'll move forward then to Amy Motter with a request. Amy, if you could come forward, please, and if you would, for people that watch this on YouTube, just introduce yourself and who you represent before you start.
I'm Amy Motter, and I'm Chief Probation Officer, Probation Department here. What I'm requesting is I have a field officer who is funded primarily by the Department of Corrections, a grant. This year they supplied the grant, but they did not include any raises. And I'd like to give my field officer the same raise that the other county employees got last year, which was the $1,730. What I'm asking is to use user fees. I'm not asking for any money from the county, but I'm asking to appropriate that out of our adult user fees to cover that, which would only be half of the $1,730 because his contract runs July 1st to June 30th. So it's just from July 1st to the end of the year. I'm asking to budget that out of adult user fees.
What do you do with that? What else do you do with that fund?
That covers part of a probation officer's salary, and then that fund covers all of our expenses other than printing.
Will that deplete your fund too much?
No, it should be fine.
Amy, why didn't this employee get that raise, and where are they at on their scale of what the state says that that position's salary should be?
Yeah, the state does not. This is a field officer. This is not a probation officer.
Okay.
So I ran this officer's salary based on what community corrections are paying their field officers, because he's doing for probation similarly to what the field officers do out of community corrections. So we've asked for the same amount for each officer. So I just think he deserves a raise just like all other county officials received. But the DOC funded all of our salaries but refused to pay any increases. So I wanted to cover that. And
was that position there at the first of the year, or
yes.
how did it get missed, I guess? How did not get a county raise, or why wasn't it included in that?
Because it's always been funded by Department of Corrections. I've never needed any county money. It's 100% been paid by the grant. So basically his salary is, like I said, running, his position is running July 1st to June 30th. So the grant covered everything up until June 30th. And now they've given us money from July 1st on, but
that's why you're here asking now, because he was getting it the first 6 months of the year, or 5 months of the year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Amy, going forward, would your fund be able to handle this as we go forward in the years to come?
Yes. And I'm preparing the budget from January on, and so that's going to be in my budget for next year as well. This is just to get through the end of the year.
For that same amount?
Yeah.
Or whatever the county gives.
Whatever the county gives,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I threw in a number of the budget, knowing it's just kind of a guess at this point.
I make a motion, we go ahead and approve the additional appropriation of $1,000.
Of what? I'm sorry, no, how much?
1,000 is what it shows on the paper.
I asked for 1,000 just to cover, it's like 865, I think, is what half of a year is, but I just want to keep it appropriated at a round number.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, at this time I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion as presented, please respond by raising your right hand. And all those opposed, the same. And let me note that it was passed unanimously with all members present.
Thank you.
Thank you. Debbie Beers, please.
Good morning. My name is Debbie Beers, and I'm the clerk of the Circuit Court. First of all, I want to say that I'm not here asking for appropriation. I'm not asking for additional money. I have just recently in my office had a job opening. I had one of my employees that has moved on to Superior Court, and she is working there. What I would like to ask for is a temporary part-time position through the end of the year to help pick up the slack that this has opened up in my office. The employee that will be working for Superior Court, I would like to take $12,000 out of what's been appropriated for her and transfer that into a temporary part-time fund to pay for this employee that I would hire. The new clerk, the first of the year, then would have the option to fill that position.
Deb, question. Will you, when you prepare your budget, put that in your budget for next year for them to do that?
Because it's just temporary.
Okay, so you won't put in for a new one?
No.
Okay.
Well, it'll still be in the budget next year.
The budget for the position.
Full-time position.
Yes.
It's going to stay in there?
That will
Okay,
stay in there, but the
okay.
temporary position that I will be hiring, it will not be. in
Well,
the
that was
budget.
my question, I guess,
I'm
about
sorry.
that.
No, change the budget at all.
Okay. I would move we allow this temporary position.
I'll second.
A motion, a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll put it to vote. All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand. And all those opposed, the same, and let it be noted that it was passed unanimously with all members present.
All right, thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Scott Wagner, please.
Good morning. Just here for information only. In this next year, we were going to ask for our,
Scott, I'm
sorry,
sorry.
Scott Wagner with the Whitley County Health Department.
Thank you very much.
This next year, just to give you some back history, in around 2007, 2008, when we went through a recession, our public health nurse, the county decided to take half of her salary and pay that through a grant that we get through the state. One's called the trust grant that was the settlement for tobacco company. And then the other one was the health maintenance grant that we've gotten since 1957 that comes to the county normally. It's approximately $28,800 is close to what she gets paid out of her salary from grant money. And we'd like to bring that back on the tax levy this year and free up that grant money for a contracted part-time position for health education for schools, the Council on Aging, other things here in the county. That's our intent, so when you see that this year in the budget period, that's what we're trying to do, is bring her back on the tax roll, tax levy itself. And of course, none of this money is county general, it's all in the tax levy for the health department. And her benefit package is already paid out of the tax roll. This part of the salary is taken out of the grant money. Anybody have any questions or anything about what she does? She does mostly home visits for elderly patients, also goes to Miller's twice a week. She also does our communicable disease tracking, which would include anything with STDs or rabies or tuberculosis, things like that. And also helps April in the clinic with shots.
Scott, the new position that you want to get, is there any funding comes from schools for things like that, or from the Council on Aging? I mean, they all got access to money, but they don't pay for any of that.
Right, we've never asked them for any of that. I
We
don't know.
already provide that now?
Right, so far as for schools, and what we would do is, we don't provide anything right now as far as health education. Like, I remember when I was growing up, we'd have nurses come in from places in county, and they give talks on things and help educate. We don't have any of that now going on. Most of the schools have their own nurses, but they're tied up with lots of other things. But we would like to go out there and have a health contractor talk about the opioid issue, sexually transmitted diseases, hygiene, things like that. We have a diverse community that's growing. A lot of those things are being missed in our young kids at school. So we would like to have somebody that can go out in the public and do that. And right now, we don't have any time.
But no, you want an employee, you're not just going to contract with someone to go do them?
Yeah, we're just going to contract with.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you don't have benefits, it'll
No.
just be just a contract
Correct.
situation?
Yes, we'll drop a contract to make sure it gets approved by the commissioners. and the
At this
insurance
point, you don't
company.
really have a cost on that?
We don't. It will be in that range of $20,000.
school to all the schools, elementary, middle school, high school, all of them?
Right, we want to make sure, we want to put together a program and model after some other counties so that we are doing something in the county, reaching out and getting things done. There's no education right now going on from the health department standpoint. So
Would you go like into Faith Christian or something like that, or
sure,
just,
and we can go anywhere that anybody requests it. Obviously, we'll put out a request to come in.
if they ask for you to come, then
Right.
you'd look at going in?
You can do things like smoking cessation as well, and tobacco use and all that kind of stuff too.
And that would also include the, well, I want to call it Troy Center, right? Does it have a different name now? I don't,
No, it's
it's still goes by Troy Center? I mean, would you go there too as needed?
Right.
Or requested, I mean?
Any other questions about Heather's role, what we're trying to do? Okay.
Move to R2, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Have a good day.
Brandon Forrester, please.
Good morning, I'm Brandon Forrester, Whitley County Highway. And last month, I know I came to you with a substantial request. Part of the information that I provided in the packet dealt with the creation of a new fund for the Highway Department. We didn't get to that because the ordinance had not been fully prepared. But, so I'm back requesting that you consider approving this ordinance that would establish a new fund for the Highway Department. The revenue sources that would go into that would be basically everything except the gas tax, the MVH money. There was a new law that went into effect last year, which they revised this for effective July 1st, that says 50% of MVH money has to be used for the construction, reconstruction, and preservation of county roads. I've attended a couple training sessions with the State Board of Accounts. They've explained that we have to be able to verify and justify our expenses towards that 50% quota. So what I'm proposing with this new fund is to keep the miscellaneous revenue separate from the gas tax revenue. So it's kind of an accounting thing. Will help us be able to, provide State Board of Accounts the information that they're going to need to meet that statutory requirement.
Do we have a copy of this ordinance anywhere that's been
I
proposed?
did, I had a copy.
I do not have one.
I did, but I must have left it alone.
Copy for John.
I have a copy right here. Sorry, I thought that was distributed.
It was not in my packet. You have an extra one, Bill?
I can make copies,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
We'll share.
Go ahead, I read it.
She's going to make one. She's making copies.
Brennan, does that make that easier? So
You
my
have a
question
copy,
is it to be able to answer, yeah, we spent 50% of the money where it's supposed to be spent?
Well, we will, with this new fund, we won't have to look at that fund, that money. That includes wheel tax, interest, we get reimbursement from solid waste for utilities, we have miscellaneous receipts, which includes the, we get $20,000 a year from the state towards my salary. We get buggy plate money, reimbursement for property
Hey,
damage.
Brian, just a question. What's that buggy plate amount to nowadays?
Well, at the time I prepared this report, over the previous 12 months, it was $5,100. So-
What are the plates? $30, $40?
Oh, Jana, what are they, 35 or 50?
Well, that's a lot of plates, isn't it, Billy? I mean,
Yeah.
5,100. I just was
Yeah.
curious about that.
We also get refunds and reimbursements, miscellaneous driveway permits,
They do that
So,
much damage.
that money will all be kept separate.
They do.
And alls we'll have to do is
It's like money,
account
isn't it?
for the MVH money, which,
And that, basically all of that fund, that's what that is.
No, no,
Right,
no. I
right.
mean, that is for number of plates.
it's an accounting thing, to make it easier on us to be able to comply with State Board of Accounts requirements. It is going to require some reconfiguring of our budget. Right now, we have, administrative, materials, capital improvements, and we'll pull some of this, basically some of this administrative stuff out, put it in this new fund, and again, last month, I looked and we had gotten $489,400 of this miscellaneous revenue. I've identified $661,300 that we could, move in line items that we could move into this new fund.
Brandon, if this is approved, would you have enough time to get this done for our upcoming budget?
Yes, that is my plan. And I'm hoping, if it's approved, we will start receiving money from these sources into this fund right away so that we can have money available at the first of the year to spend from with the new budget.
Has this ordinance been reviewed by the county attorney?
This ordinance was written by the county attorney.
Very good.
And I also wanted to, I remember last year at budget time, we have a fuel supplies line item, and then we have a fuel, oil, and lube line item. And Thor had questioned, what's the difference? And so I want to, in fact, I made an appointment with Jana. We're going to sit down and go through some of these things and try and clean some things up. We have an item called garage supplies where we buy, safety equipment and, parts for vehicles. I'd kind of like to split that up a little bit so we know
What you're doing.
what we're spending our money on what, areas, so.
I'd like to ask our county auditor if she's in favor of this.
Yes, Brandon and I have been working on it together and recommending him to do so. I think this is the best.
Does that need our approval? Can you just do it?
No, to establish a fund needs council approval.
So that should be an ordinance 2018-02.
Make a motion, we approve ordinance 2018-02, which is an ordinance of the Whitley County Council establishing a highway fund pursuant to Indiana Code 36-1-3.
I will second that.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? This time I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand. And those opposed, the same, and it has passed unanimously with all members present.
And real quickly, I just wanted to, yesterday we opened, we received one bid, but we did receive a bid for our timber salt storage building. We have a set of plans that actually states Whitley County, Indiana salt storage building. And so I'll be working on construction specs, a site plan, and anticipate receiving bids for the construction part of that project July 16th at the commissioner meeting. So just wanted to keep you updated on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John Myers, please. John, if you could start by introducing yourself and who you represent, that'd be great for our
Yes.
audience at home.
I'm John Myers, president of the Whitley County Economic Development Corporation. Had two things I wanted to talk to you about this morning. First had to do with a request for a tax abatement for a project that we're currently working on. The second was to perhaps give you a brief update on where we stand at the EDC, knowing that it's the time of year when we're all planning ahead for the following year, myself included. So to perhaps get some guidance from you guys as I work on my own budget for next year and answer any questions that you may have. So the first item, the abatement, and I know this, my summary memo here is a little longer than usual because this is a little more complicated than a typical project. The company is currently in negotiations with the IEDC, so I don't have any particulars with regard to the company name or anything like that at this point in time because the state gets really picky about making announcements and announcing names until they have made a determination on what they want to do. So this, what I'm asking for here is the abatement subject to everything being approved by everybody else and thereby avoiding asking to hold a special meeting to come back in and review all of this stuff. But it's what we're talking about is an orthopedics manufacturer that is looking to build a new research and development facility. This was actually brought to us by Brian Emmerich out at Micropulse because he works very closely with the company and had heard that they might be looking to do change locations, and so very thankful to Brian for thinking of us and giving us an opportunity to make the pitch for Whitley County versus either Allen County or Kosciuszko County in this particular case. So the company has been working closely with Michael Kinder and Sons, a big construction company in Fort Wayne, looking for locations and working on the possible location for their building. They have entered into a tentative agreement with Michael Kinder to build them a new building. And so it's actually a holding company for Michael Kinder and Sons, or a development company for this particular project that is making the request for the tax abatement. So the Michael Kinder folks have entered into an agreement to purchase a lot out at Park 30 that they'll subdivide and then put this office building on one of the 3 lots. That subdivision has already been approved by the Planning Commission, so it's moving forward on that front. But this would result in as I say, a 16,500 square foot office building that will be primarily engineers, testing facility, that sort of thing, to help develop new products for the orthopedic industry, which is kind of cool stuff. Well-paid folks. You can see an estimated $43 an hour for the new jobs that would be created here. I discussed with the company the possibility of a training grant from the Redevelopment Commission in lieu of a tax abatement, as we've done on a number of projects here lately. In this particular case, it didn't really make sense because we're talking about hiring a bunch of biomedical and mechanical engineers that
We don't need to train
really,
them.
really don't need any CNC training or welding certificates or anything like that. So, so this, again, we've tried to dial back the tax abatement requests and suggest other options to folks as we've gone along here. But this is one where it just, tax abatement seems to be the appropriate tool in terms of an incentive to get them to land here in Whitley County versus some of the other places, or a couple of the other locations that they've been looking at. And so, and I just had a text for Alan Teo was going to be here. He's the business development person for Michael Kinder and Sons that has been working on this project with me. But he had something come up at the last minute this morning, so he apologizes. But when you have young kids, sometimes things just get out of your control.
I may add that the Redevelopment Commission passed a favorable vote for this. So
John, through the years, and Bill can add to what I got to say, but many times when a company's wanted to locate here, they've talked to the council and the commissioners and REMC and the railroad or maybe other utilities like city utilities or something, and in advance, basically we've just given approval to say, yes, we support this thing, and they want to know what they stand before they make a decision to come in here. So this is something we've done many times in years past. We haven't, I don't think, done it recently too much, but that's basically what you're asking is just the blessing at this point, aren't you?
Well, I mean, it's.
You don't really have numbers down pat yet for abatement today, do you?
Well, we have the estimates in the SB1 for what the cost of this new building would be. So that would be the maximum amount that would be available to them if they decide to put in, gold-plated sink faucets or whatever.
But can we pass tax abatement today, or can we just make a recommendation that we are going to? I mean, do you have the actual things that for us to sign a tax abatement?
So, yes, so everything is here.
You've got everything you need today?
Everything,
Okay.
I have everything I need. I've talked to the company, and they've represented everything. And like I said, it's actually Michael Kinder that's applying for the abatement for the building.
Okay.
If it doesn't go through, then of course, there would be no abatement because nothing would be built.
In your conversations with Michael Kinder on it, are they veteran-friendly in their hiring process?
They are, and everybody is these days, John, because
It's a question I ask on every one of these abatements.
anybody who has the discipline of a veteran, anybody's more than happy to hire them because they show up for work on time and pass the drug tests and everything else.
So then any personal property would come later then?
It would, but in discussions with the company, I doubt that will be the case because it's, we're talking office equipment, and they already have a lot of their testing equipment already own that, so
There's really no manufacturing involved.
no manufacturing. This is all design work and, again, for the products.
Looks
that are
like a
made.
pretty good thing for Whitley County to me.
I think so, otherwise I wouldn't be here.
Yeah, I'm sure you wouldn't, but that would attract people that are gonna do something with what they develop, I presume. And,
Yeah, and it's kind of nice, we're starting to get to where we have more and more folks doing the orthopedic stuff out in Park 30, so we're getting kind of a, cluster of companies there with, Restoration Medical, Iatron, some of the others that service
yeah.
the orthopedics industry. This, of course, would be a service for a bigger company, but it would be one of the bigger companies putting a
This-
location here.
The lot they wanna subdivide, as I understand it, right, is that one that's currently still owned by REMC, or is it one of the lots that somebody else has bought?
This was an REMC lot, and it's my understanding that Kinder at least has it under contract and filed the plat for the subdivision of the lot. And another kind of side benefit is because Kinder has purchased this lot and will subdivide it, it means we'll have another 2 5-acre lots available for similar projects as well. So, again, just a project that kind of hits a lot of different pluses along the way.
Well, I would move we grant this request, or whatever number we got it, we don't have one, but I think it'd be a good thing for Whitley County all the way around. I think, like John pointed out, it kind of establishes us a little bit in the orthopedic industry.
It would be resolution 2018-02.
And I will second that motion.
Motion and a second. I would call for any further discussion. Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of resolution 2018-02, please respond by raising your right hand. And Bill, were you a vote on that? Okay,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I just got ahead of you.
Okay. All those opposed, the same. Let it be noted that it passed unanimously with all members present. Thank you, John.
This really does sound good. I think that really sounds good.
Yeah.
Just talking to one of our relatives, that pretzel plant out in Boston, put her in it, and he asked her to do it, and I told him we had a company looking at us, was gonna pay $43 an hour, and he said
That's
that's
a
the
good
future.
This, that's a,
I don't know what they're paying, for somebody person.
And then the second item, as I said, I'd like to at least come in every once in a while and let you know what we're up to and answer any questions that any of you might have, and even give me any ideas as I start working on my 2019 budget and plan for the coming year. I know several of you attended our annual meeting in March. So some of this is old news to you, but just like I said, wanted to give you some idea of what we're up to. So kind of hit on the high points. The sheet with the green lines across it is a recent update of estimates of population growth within the counties in Northeast Indiana. Given our low unemployment rate of about 2.5% at the moment, anything we can do to attract new people to come and live here, work here, raise their families here, pay more taxes, have more kids attend our schools, those sorts of things are good for all of us. The good news for us on population growth is that, and you may have seen this in the paper recently, but the county had one of the highest growth rates in the last year in terms of population at 0.81%. The national average is 0.71%, so we're marginally better than the national average, and then that rate was the highest of any of the 11 counties in Northeast Indiana. Kind of generally speaking, the goal regionally is to get to a region of 1 million people by 2030. In order to do that, we're all going to collectively have to grow faster than what we are currently. And in fact, even our higher growth rate in relation to the rest of the region is still about half of what it would be for us to meet kind of our pro rata quota. But it's better than being headed in the other direction, like a couple of our neighboring counties. So I would say that's all positive because, again, as population grows, that means we have more people building homes, more people starting businesses, more people getting jobs and paying taxes across the board to support all of the stuff that you guys are responsible for making sure that gets paid for. I realize there's certainly extra costs that come along with that in terms of increased staffing and other things, but the hope would be that we can grow our tax revenues faster than we grow our expenses. As I said, unemployment's low. What we're seeing is, at least anecdotally from our employers, that rather than take the risk of losing folks and having to find replacement people and train up new people, our businesses are increasing their wages. I know the national numbers don't necessarily reflect that. I mean, maybe the most recent national numbers reflect a little bit of an uptick in wages, but I think what you're going to see, not only here, but in Indiana and across the board, is probably higher wages or wages rising a little more quickly. I think the federal government, when they collect the numbers, they're a little bit behind everybody else. So what we're seeing kind of being on the front line of it is that's already happening. And given the strength of our manufacturing businesses here locally, which are typically good paying jobs to begin with, it's I think just will be just that much better for us as we continue to move forward. Tax revenues are up. If you look at the sheet that the last sheet that I passed out, these are kind of our guiding principles in terms of the types of things that we try to do and look at on a day-to-day basis. But increasing our income receipts, increasing our assessed valuation, other things that are going to increase tax revenue are the types of things that we focus on a day-to-day basis. And I know our tax revenues last year, just in 2017, were up by 11.5% over 2016. And I think the kind of the recent supplemental money tax receipts that we recently got from the state for 2017 will make that number even better. So idea here is to take the pressure off you guys. So number one, you don't have to raise taxes, or in fact lower taxes if you have enough AV to increase the revenues. But then also, have the money to do things that need to be done. I don't know. I don't want to waste a lot of time. I think our focus is and will continue to be recruiting talent, whether that's by way of recruiting families. The region is focusing on veterans that are coming out of the service, ending their service cycles or whatever. How do we get to those places and hold job fairs at those locations where folks are kind of their final stop in the service, and make the pitch for them to move to Northeast Indiana and Whitley County specifically. We've continued to work hard on quality of place issues and downtown revitalization. I don't know if anybody was down at the First Friday event on Friday, but it was just great to see that many people around downtown in the Courthouse Square on a warm, spring evening. We need to do a refresh on our small business and entrepreneurship stuff that we're doing, but kind of working on that at the moment. But we want to make sure that we're, growing the next CNA tools, growing the next SDIs and micropulses and other companies, and making sure that we have a pipeline for those companies coming along as those companies mature. So. Don't want to waste your time. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions, or if I don't know the answer to the questions, go back and look it up and report back at some later time.
That wasn't a waste of time. That's pretty good information. Very good.
I figure you guys are the guys on the front line getting the questions at Walmart on the weekends, and so in fact, if I can give you some talking points, that helps a little bit.
Very good. Any other questions for John?
If not, you know where to find me. Coffee's always on.
Thank you, Tim.
All right, we'll move back up to then DJ Ziegler, please.
Everybody's mornings off, so they're starting to mine. Apologize for getting tardy. We have a couple of supplemental requests regarding our budget for the year. Kind kind of the confluence of some strange events and some unique opportunities. As Councilman Hodges will tell you, we've been very active this year with confidential informants and buying illegal drugs. We've had a good year. We've had some good success right out of the gate. Spent, that of course costs money. Buying illegal drugs costs money. And due to the good work of the Drug Task Force, we have gone through quite a bit of what we have budgeted for our confidential funds. And the source of these funds is our drug enforcement grant. It's a state grant, so these aren't county tax dollars. But because of the success of that particular program, we've gone through a great deal already in the first 5 months of the year, what we've budgeted. And you can see that we've got results. Our drug convictions have always been strong through the years, that they're up, just like everybody around the state of Indiana is up. So we're seeing an increase in methamphetamine coming in from Mexico. We're seeing an increase in heroin, of course, just like everybody else. And we're buying a lot of it. And as I said, the DTF is doing very good work. The second reason for this request is because we have an unusual circumstance. When we stop drug dealers, when we make a drug arrest, not as a result of a confidential informant, but as a buy, but as a traffic stop, for example. In one particular case late last year, we had a gentleman, state of Indiana versus Lou. Mr. Lou had approximately $10,000 in cash on his person. We moved, filed a civil lawsuit against Mr. Lou to attach those monies. And then what we do is we deposit those when we're successful. Sometimes we are, sometimes we're not. When we're successful, we deposit those monies in this account to replenish what we've spent. We did this with Mr. Lou's case. In Mr. Lou's case, we were probably going to be unsuccessful in the court system attaching all 10,000 of those dollars. What we did manage to do was to have reach an agreement with this defendant after he had served his time. We forfeited half of the money, so we got about approximately $5,000. What we were required to do, this is probably too much inside baseball for everybody, what we were required to do, though, was we were required to deposit the entire $10,000 in our account, and then the court mandated us to cut him a check for that. And so that impacted our budget to a degree, because it went into the unappropriated, the full $10,000 went into the unappropriated portion of our budget, but then we had to cut a check out of the appropriated monies. That was an unexpected expense, if you will. And so this is just putting us back pretty much to square, so we can continue our drug buys and we can account for the $5,000 windfall. So that's a good thing. But that's the reason, the basis for that request. The second request, and I don't know, Mr. Chairman, if you want to do one at a time or if you want me to explain both.
Let's just go through all of it. Go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. In the second one, we're asking to appropriate an additional $5,000 for operating supplies. As many of you know, and I've talked with Commissioner Schrumpf about this, as many of you know, we keep a lot of our old criminal files in the basement of the jail. Way too many, frankly, for my taste. They go back to 1974 by my count. So no reason to keep any of that stuff. Need to get it out of there, create space. It's just no good reason to have any of that stuff. I think that the jail would appreciate having the room. I think the county would appreciate having the room. I would appreciate not having to send my staff over there to paw through files from time to time. So the $5,000 represents hiring a person through PeopleLink, through the county, to, in essence, sort through the things we do need to keep. The problem was when we started that filing years ago, it was done alphabetically. That doesn't really help me because it needs to be by year, right? Because if it's 2002, I can check it. If it's anything sooner, I probably need to keep it. It also depends on the nature of the crime involved. So, but that $5,000 represents an hourly employee to start that process of sorting through approximately, I would say, 15,000 to 18,000 different criminal files, if not more, and helping us to make the jump into the 21st century, frankly, with our filing system. So it's a job that's so big, and we've become so busy as a prosecutor's staff that I didn't have anybody to task on a daily basis with going over there to the basement of the jail and losing a day of work or 2 days of work. And it's ultimately going to wind up being, I think, and this is maybe me being a little optimistic, a 3 or 4 month project over the course of the entire summer. It's that big a job. So that's the basis for that.
You keep
You've
the
also
new
got to be-
electronically?
Pardon?
The new cases and stuff you keep electronically?
Yeah, the new cases are much different. We have a system called CrossLink. Now, we still, I'm still an old school lawyer, and Matt Rentschler was, and certainly John Whitley was. So we do keep a paper file just for security reasons. But the bottom line is, for most criminal files, after approximately 5 years, they can go. So more serious, we have a retention schedule, more serious cases, murder, level 1, level 2, level 3 felonies. We keep those longer because the consequences are so severe for defendants. And so we're required to hang on to those a little bit longer. But most of this stuff, I mean, you're talking about traffic tickets and bad checks and stuff from 1982. So I just need some eyeballs down there to help me get it straightened out. So those are the two requests.
DJ, in years past, when they would add somebody at 4D, another employee, or in the prosecutor's office, probably another always had funds. Well, I'll pay half of this if you guys will do the other half. You don't have funds like that anymore, that you can pay things like this?
Our understanding was that we couldn't hire somebody outside of the county's hiring mechanisms and mechanics. That was my understanding. We investigated that prior to. I'm always happy to participate in any way, shape, or form that I can. I'm given the nature of our deferral funds. Yeah, we do have monies to do that. We do a lot of that work anyway. I mean, you'll see something here in the next couple of weeks. I just spent $12,000 on cameras for 2 city police vehicles. So I definitely would love to, but I was trying to stay within the framework. If I can do that, I will do that.
When you confiscate a car or anything else, you sell that and that money go in that fund? Or?
Yeah, so anytime we stop a drug dealer, a vehicle is used in a drug transaction. Assuming it meets the criteria in the statute, it's very specific. But if it meets that criteria, then yes, we can forfeit that vehicle. We do that a lot, and then we use those vehicles in confidential drug buy situations. What happens, yes, to answer your question, yes, when those cars are no longer serviceable or burned or whatever, yeah, they go to auction, and then if somebody wants it, they pay us, and then we deposit that money, so, with the county, so.
I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
Just out of curiosity. Like, obviously you confiscate handguns or guns, then do you receive any monies from, maybe you sell that to a retailer?
We've had, the policy in years past, and I've continued it, is when we have weapons that are seized, putting them back in the stream of commerce seems very dangerous to me. So if we can do it in a controlled situation with a reputable purchaser, someone local, we'll do that. We have done that. We've also destroyed them. The law is very specific about firearms. I mean, I'm really required to move heaven and earth to try and find out whose gun that is, and we've done that, and it's really candidly a pain. But we have to have a court order that says either A, you can sell it, or B, destroy it. In the event that we do sell it, yes, the proceeds return to the county.
Because you think, that become your property, then you could just transfer it over to a new buyer.
Yeah, I attended a training on that about a year or so ago. There are 3 very specific statutes in the state of Indiana about how to deal with
Just
seized
curious.
firearms.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I just have one question, DJ. Just so I fully understand that when we're talking about the 10,000, money come in, 5,000 went out, so you just needed to cover that. Isn't that 10,000 that came in, I mean, that wasn't exactly in the budget, wasn't that kind of a windfall?
It was a windfall, yes, precisely. And so that's why we have to ask to have it, because the monies came into the unappropriated balance, but we paid from the appropriated balance, we need to cover that. That wasn't $5,000 in the appropriated balance that we were anticipating.
So the money's there, you're not asking us for money, we're just moving it.
Just moving it.
I got you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You bet.
I would entertain a motion on these 3 requests, please.
Two, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry. You
I
still
only
have
got 2
that.
anyway.
I make a motion on the first one, request on the transfer resolution where we're transferring $5,000 from operating supplies to contracted services. I still make that motion.
That's okay. Go ahead.
A motion, a second. Any further discussion on that resolution? Hearing none, this time I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of passing that resolution, please respond by raising your right hand. And all those opposed, the same, and let it be noted that it was passed unanimously with all members present.
I'll also make that motion that we make the additional appropriation resolution ordinance from Fund 8503 Drug Enforcement Grant for $10,000.
And I'll second.
I have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of that request, please respond by raising your right hand. And all those opposed, the same, and let it be noted that it was passed unanimously with all members present.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize again for my tardiness. So, thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. John Woodmansee, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Take one of these and pass it around. My name is John Woodmansee from Purdue Extension, and periodically the extension staff come in and update you on various programs throughout the year just to keep you informed of our progress and the things that we're involved with. As you know, last year I was employed half-time in Whitley County and half-time in Noble County, and the county council approved a request by the extension office to move me to full-time in Whitley County. And so just wanted to report on some of the things that I've been able to accomplish by coming full-time here, and express my appreciation to the council for approving that request. One of the things that I've noticed, of course, and you would certainly expect this, is just the response time to the public from the various requests that I get. And one of the big inconveniences we had was people coming in on the days that I was in Noble County. So, I've got to wait till tomorrow, or I've got to wait till next week he's out. So the response time has certainly been a big plus. But this sheet that I prepared for you just highlights a few recent accomplishments, and just want to hit a few of these highlights. I'm not going to read them all, but starting with general A&R programs, and A&R stands for Agriculture and Natural Resources. I do a weekly newspaper article, and currently the potential readership of all the news sources that I send to is over 50,000, and so I'm getting a lot of good response from the readers on that. In fact, somebody called last week, just didn't give me her name, she just said, "I'm one of your readers," and then went on with her request. So, client requests, in May I had almost 30 of those, and I made 6 home visits. And during these home visits, I will typically troubleshoot with a homeowner or a farmer on various items. It might be trees in the landscape that are diseased or inflicted with insect pests, and how to treat those problems. So it's a lot of problem solving that I do on those kind of visits. Under traditional agriculture, one of the issues that we have this year is a post-emergence pesticide that contains dicamba that is being used. And one of the things that we did at Purdue Extension statewide was to try to inform farmers of all the I's that they need to dot and T's that they need to cross to apply this product safely in an environmentally friendly way. The consequence of not doing that is probably at the end of this year, if there are too many drift complaints with this product, it's going to be removed from the market. So one of the things we really did was get out there and do a lot of education on this particular event. We held trainings at the Fort Wayne Farm Show, and I also held trainings here in Whitley County at Ag Plus, and also out at the fairgrounds. In my particular events, almost 200 attended those. We have, Whitley County is host to Northeast Purdue Ag Center. We have 2 field days there. Last year in June and in August. This year's dates are June 19th, and that's targeted mainly to commercial agriculture, and August 23rd, that's our field day for local farmers. Going down to the bottom there, I also held a succession planning workshop in February, and this was an event designed to help farm families who want to create that succession plan. What are some of the steps that we need to take to properly move our property, our farm, from one generation to the next? Buy-sell agreements, various other things. Excuse me. And so that proved to be a worthwhile project. Another new program I'm doing later this month is a program on transitioning to organic production. And this is designed to help farmers who want to diversify a little bit, maybe think about getting into a certified organic product. What are some of the low-hanging fruits as far as some of the, products that can be produced that have a certain demand for them? For instance, in LaGrange County, we've got a lot of organic dairies and so forth. Organic dairies need organic grain to eat. And so the demand for something like that is certainly here. And it's not very far as the market.
Could you, what is organic grain?
Well, it's grain that is raised without any synthetic pesticides. So the typical weed killers you might use on a crop cannot be used. So you get into cultivation, we put away our cultivators 20 years ago. Things like that. Also using a lot of manure for fertilizer, those kind of things.
Yeah.
Under horticulture, master gardeners, just want to highlight that I do a fall training each year to train master gardeners, and that's to give them a broad knowledge of horticulture, but also to train them to be volunteers. And our master gardeners in Whitley County in last year reported over 3,000 volunteer hours in the community. And an organization called the Independent Sector puts value on volunteer time, and they with that value placed, that's over $70,000 of value to Whitley County. Our EDC director was talking about quality of place and those kind of things. Our master gardeners are very key players in maintaining a lot of our public gardens, not only in Columbia City, but South Whitley and also Cherubusco. And they're not the only players out there, but they're key players. And that increases, of course, the curb appeal of Whitley County. And they do a lot of other things, but that's just one of the projects that they're involved with. Under forestry and natural resources, this is really an area that I've really been able to expand since I've gone full-time. I conducted a forest management and timber marketing program in February, and we had 19 attend that. But as you can imagine, forest land can be managed like any other land. And you can conduct timber harvests, which can provide, income for the owners. And there's things that you have to consider for taxes and so forth, but that can be a managed tract of land and an economic help to the family. And lastly, just conducted a pond and wildlife management program out at Northeast Purdue Ag Center a couple of days ago. We barely got it in before the rains hit. Bill was out there. And so that was designed to help people with ponds manage their pond, and also those who want to get involved in some wildlife conservation, to some principles there that they can employ on their land. I've known a lot of people who have the dream of having a pond, and they build the pond, and then 5-7 years later, they're dealing with weeds that are out of control and not satisfied with the fish in their pond. So it's just managing that asset a little bit better. So that's my quick overview of some things I've been doing, and take any questions.
Yeah. Have you noticed any pine beetles?
Which ones?
The ones that, I don't know, the ones that can kill the pine trees.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got, I mean, there's engraver beetles, there's all kind of bark beetles that can get into the pine trees. And yes, I have noticed some of those. I have not noticed them in an inordinate amount. They've been around for years. So a stressed pine tree it smells better to those kind of pests, and they go after those trees. So yeah, they've been around forever.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, John.
Thanks, John.
And Jason Meyer. And Jason, I apologize, I had an agenda that didn't have you on it, so I'm sorry I skipped over you.
Thank you, everyone.
If you could, sir, start by introducing yourself and who you represent.
Not a problem. I'm Jason Meyer. I'm the president of Passages here in Columbia City. So I have an update for everyone today, and then I have a request as well. Passages' mission is passionately leading or assisting people with disabilities into a thriving and meaningful life. So we work with adults and youth with intellectual and developmental disabilities. I've been in Columbia City and Whitley County since 1954. So I've just passed it around. I'm not going to go through all that, but that's kind of our annual report from last year. We operate in a fiscal year, so July 1st is our start of our 2019 fiscal year. So in there is kind of an update on what we've done. This last fiscal year, we've really grown our arts program through our Bridge 333 Art Studio at the Creative Learning Center. So I have some information on that in there, as well as an invitation to our next Getting to Know Passages event. We started this last year, and it's something that's really an hour of everything Passages. So you'll hear from a couple of people we serve at Passages, kind of they'll share their story, as well as hear from me a history of Passages and a little overview, and then you'll tour our Learning Center and our art studio. But today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about our transportation and a little bit of what our $35,000 that we receive from the county each year goes towards. We have 14 vehicles at Passages, so we have 3 group homes here in Whitley County, which are 24-hour a day, 7-day a week, fully staffed homes, 8 people in each house, and we have a cargo van at each of those houses. And then we also have 7 additional minivans altogether. 6 of those are used to transport people to and from different community outings we do, our employment that we have throughout Whitley County. We have a lot of people employed, as well as community volunteer opportunities. And then we have a minivan that we use as well for our maintenance vehicles. We have 1 maintenance person on staff that we have through Passages. We have 18 homes altogether, and then we have Whitley Crossings Neighborhood Corporation, which is a separate nonprofit, and that's 65 low to moderate income housing units here in Whitley County. So that maintenance person does maintenance for all of those homes and uses that vehicle and travels around quite frequently. We also have 3 smaller cars that we use for trips to Fort Wayne and different things like that because they have better mileage. And then we also have a partnership with Whitley County Transit. We work with Deb and Bernie over there, and we do a lot of transportation through Whitley County Transit through the week and to and from our day program at our Creative Learning Center. So with that, that's where our $35,000 of the county funds goes towards, primarily through maintenance of those vehicles, through gas, through a lot of other different things that we use, and then obviously we have a paid contract with Whitley County Transit as well, and have for years. So we do receive half of those dollars in the spring, and then half of the county dollars in the fall. So that's kind of what we've utilized those dollars for. As you know, with transportation, with vehicle cost, that $35,000 is greatly appreciated and helps, but I was coming to the council today to ask if we could increase that amount to $40,000 for the next year. We do have an aging fleet of vehicles. We have a replacement plan. I started here in 2013 at Passages. In the last 3 years, we've tried to replace at least 1 vehicle a year. Last year, we were able to replace 2. This year, we replaced 1. But we still have an aging fleet of vehicles. Right now, our oldest vehicle is a 1999 vehicle, so we're getting there. We're almost all in 2000s with our vehicles. So, but as you can tell, with wear and tear, as you might expect with people with disabilities through wheelchairs and other things of that nature,
vehicles, we last as long as we can, but we always buy used. We did lease our group home vehicles back in '09 and '10. We started that because there was some reimbursement capabilities there, but right now we work with a lot of local dealerships and try and purchase used. So with that, that's a brief summary of my request. I'd be happy to answer any questions, but I know you've heard a lot of information today from others, and I want to be respectful of your time.
I've got a question that doesn't necessarily refer to that, but what's the plan for the property north of you? You now own that, right?
Yes, we do. So our Learning Center is at 333 North Oak Street at the old Limburg office building. We rehabilitated that building in 2012, 2013. Then we also own the 5 acres where the hospital used to be as well. So right now, we're working on a grant request through the Indiana Housing and Community Development Authority to build 16 lease purchase homes there. And it'll be 22 units altogether, but 16 houses. So, and then with that, we're also going to be rehabilitating the Clugston Senior Hotel downtown if we receive that request. So a lot is in the works. We put that request, a couple of them in, one at the end of June, one at the end of July, and we'll be hearing back from that as well. So,
Thank you.
and that'll follow the Whitley Crossings Neighborhood Corporation, the separate 501c3 as well. That will fall under. So.
Your request come up at budget time, am I correct?
Well, I believe those funds come out of the commissioner's budget, so that would be a decision that, have you guys considered that, or you have knowledge of their requests? Okay, so that would be the process for it.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Appreciate it. Thank you.
The next item on the agenda would be the annual abatement considerations, or actually, John, you're just going to bring us up to speed on those, right?
Okay, so it's time for abatements again. I did review all of them, looked over them, and they are all in compliance. If any of you want to look at them, you're more than welcome to, but there's a stack of them over here. So, and usually the chairman comes up and signs all of them, as John knows all too well, right?
Or whoever he designates.
That too. So, if you want to take a look at any of them, I have all of them, so, any questions? This is to keep
Everybody's in
going.
compliance, right?
I think in the past that we've authorized the chairman to go ahead and sign as our representative.
They're in compliance.
Yes, those that are in compliance.
Does
Yeah, let us know that they aren't.
Does council wish to have a period of time to review these before I would sign them, or what's your?
Is there any time limit on them? I would make a motion that we allow the chairman of the council to review them at his convenience and sign them in the appropriate time as designated.
That's good on that.
That gives you a week or 10 days.
That's what
or
we've done in
whatever.
the past. So
Gives you a little time.
It's unanimous, but.
I know it won't be. You have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand. And all those opposed, the same. So it's a 6-1 vote.
How'd you vote, Thor?
I voted against it.
That's right. The chairman voted negative on that.
Be prepared to get right on scrap.
That's funny.
Okay, Commissioner's report, please.
Okay, I've just got a couple of things I'd like to report, and Brandon was here about the bid opening for the salt barn, and we're happy to get that going, and that should be done by the end of the year here. Wanted to report on the Wheeler property. We received $65,000 for back taxes on that property, and all the court costs or the attorney fees will be paid on top of that by the people that were deficient in this. So that's good news that that's been going on for years and years and years.
What property is that?
On Diamond Street, it would be by CNR Plating.
Yeah.
Just thankful that the county didn't end up with that.
Yes, yeah, we did some testing there, and we didn't want to take it back, so it was best to pursue the back taxes.
Did someone purchase it, or
No.
it didn't change hands?
No,
Just-
actually, we had an attorney, a group from Indianapolis pursued that. Laurel found this attorney group.
Okay.
Works with the treasurers, and they sent one letter, and that's all it took. And,
Wow, that's good.
So I think they made $30,000 for that letter, but thank goodness we got that back. I think we got 24,000 out of that. The city got most of that, city and school and township, but everybody benefited from that. The only other thing I have is Personnel Committee has been meeting. We've had 3 meetings so far. And we've been trying to do an evaluation of where we should be going on with our Personnel Committee. We did get the salary report from MDF, Michael Frizzell, and that gave us a good indication that our wages we're at a good place with our wages with 99% of the county, so we felt good about that. And then we looked at pursuing Michael Frizzell on the valuations and the job descriptions and further compensation. And what we found on that is, we weren't real comfortable with Frizzell, to be honest about it. They have not been very responsive, and they really haven't worked with the government agencies as much as they said they've been working with them. So what we've done is we've made a determination that we'd like to, we met with Wagner, Irwin, Shealy, made a determination that what we'd like to do is go forward with Wagner, Irwin, Shealy with their new updated plan. The reason that the plan didn't work for us before is we didn't keep up with the updates. And I blame that on us, but I also blame it on Wagner, Irwin, Shealy, that they didn't let us know. But they know for sure right now that we want to go forward. We want to get all of our new jobs or our jobs just descriptions updated and legally updated. And that's another issue we have to make sure with the new laws and HR laws, we are legal with everything. We didn't feel comfortable that we're not attorneys on the Personnel Committee, so we approved using Wagner, Irwin, Shealy for our personnel issues to be able to, as a third party. We'll still overview everything through the Personnel Committee using department heads also, but that will, it'll keep us, our evaluations will be free of fluff, I guess is what you would say, that whatever the people do as their duties, it won't be anything like opening mail or anything like that. We've got to thin that down, so.
That'll be a contract situation, kind of like you had with the other
Yeah,
firm.
and the contract is quite a bit more. It's $44,160 for this contract, but that's for reviewing every one of the jobs within the county. And, that probably, they're saying it's a 6 to 8 month process. It's probably going to be a lot longer than that, because we really, I think probably what we'll do is as the jobs come up, we'll just send them the evaluations, the information, and do it individually rather than doing it as a group. But I did bring that to commissioners yesterday, and as commissioners, we approved using $44,160, and that's the maximum. That's not what it's going to cost.
You kind of get what you pay for, and we just haven't gotten our money's worth out of the other.
No, we have not.
And that,
And rather than go forward, it's better to cut our losses on that. And I don't think we had a loss. We did get a salary information, and we know that at this time that we're within limits of what we should be on our salaries that we're paying people right now.
They're not best suited for us just to continue a relationship with.
No.
is that per year, 44,000?
No, that's to reevaluate everything that we have, all the jobs that we have.
I got you.
And after that, it's like $160 an hour.
Do you want a copy of, should we get a
Yeah,
copy of this for
yeah,
everybody?
we'll get you a copy of everything that, for the contract on that. Our attorney has looked at the contract, everything looks good on that. But we have seeded funds, and the good thing is, one of the good things is that with our jail plumbing, we, for the seeded funds, we budgeted $90,000 for the jail plumbing that came in at $28,000.
Good.
So there is a savings there that we could use to fund this for this. And again, it's going to be between this year and next year, but I would ask that you approve using the seeded funds for the Wagner and Shealy.
You'll bring that up next meeting then, the request, or you want it now?
I'd like to request it now, because we'd like to go forward as soon as possible. We've got some issues that we need to deal with at the Sheriff's Department, Planning and Building Department, and even over in the courthouse.
I'm going to ask now, who's on that, person? You two, and you're not on it? The three of you are. And you're comfortable with the 44,000 expenditure, and I would make a motion then that we approve the seated request.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I would add that I appreciate from our conversation earlier that this would be considered, a significant change in your original request for your seated, so to bring it to us, I appreciate that. And that's the kind of thing that I want to see, those changes. The rest of the stuff, we've approved it and we move forward with it. So with that being said, I'll call at this time for a vote for the commissioners to be able to spend that money for the evaluation process on our positions. All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand. And those opposed, the same. And
No, I was for it, I just didn't get it up in time.
okay. So it passed unanimously with all members present.
And I would like to report Jail Task Force is still in operation here. We've got some good ideas. I think eventually we'll be able to bring things forward to the council and commissioners, but it's been a great learning process for everyone. And with the new laws coming up, I think, we can have a significant savings rather than going into a full-blown jail process. But it is going forward, and it's been a good process.
Any questions of George?
Thank you, George.
At this time, I would ask, has everyone had a chance to review the May minutes as they were presented to you?
I so move that they approve as written.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of passing the May minutes, please respond by raising your right hand. And all those opposed, the same. The pass unanimously with all members present. Councilman Barrett.
In our packet was a request of funding from the Bowen Center.
Yeah.
This has always been a point of aggravation for me that we are mandated for the next year, 2019, $213,690. In the past, we have requested how is this money spent, what it's accounted for on it, and I'd just like to bring this point up that here we go again for almost $214,000, and we have no accountability from the Bowen Center, and it's mandated through the state that
I
this
can
is
say that's
required.
not really a request.
Yeah. Right, Jim?
I agree with you.
Yeah.
So the state sets the amount as well? We can't
Just
reduce
by
the
state
amount?
statute.
Yeah.
Yes, by state statute. I don't know the formula, I don't know what it is, and where they are.
The whole purpose,
It's a growth quotient that they use for the
in my,
TV.
in my opinion, this was nothing but a gimmick to keep his name alive.
Well, the bad thing is that because of the HIPAA laws, they can't give us any information on what good they're doing.
But they could certainly provide numbers,
They
right?
provide numbers, but that you don't know if that's, if it's repeat offenders, clients coming to them with those numbers, or that we have no idea, they won't give us the numbers. So what we're doing as commissioners, we are working with our legislators, and our attorney is looking into that right now, as to if we could use those monies for our mental health issues in the jail. And that's being...
Maybe a good idea.
So what would happen if we didn't
Pay
that
it.
bill?
Well, it's state mandated, but we're looking
The state
at the
trooper
actual...
that took these kids home and did all
Use the
these
same amount of
things
funds to
that
spend
you read
locally.
about.
Well, and that's what we're
Because
looking
he
at
lives in
right now.
Thornton Township.
It doesn't say
Do you
specifically
read about
Bowen
that?
Center.
Because the state trooper went to this wreck and he
Yeah, I
used to
see.
those children, he doesn't want to see that, but he lived in Thornton.
I don't know.
He's right down there.
Chair Russell kid.
Parkview
What's his
Behavioral
name?
in our community
McLaughlin.
is
Joe
McLaughlin. Are
McLaughlin.
going, and Parkview Behavioral are doing
He
all
grew
the
up
intake
about
evaluations
4 houses
for the
from
Bowen
Where
Center.
was I think in Thornton?
So they're deciding where people are
Probably
going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
didn't.
we're paying
work.
for, essentially, we're paying
I
for the
read about
Bowen
it,
Center,
but I don't know where it was.
and we're maybe not getting the full benefit that we should be for that money.
And the worst part about that is that if the court system sends somebody to the Bowen Center, we have to pay for that additional.
Yeah.
It isn't
Yeah, we don't get
a part of
service for that.
$230,000 we have to pay.
All that $230,000 does is keep it open,
Right.
basically. Pay the help.
As I pointed out, it's a frustration level on it, on why they are not accountable for the money that we give them. If we give them $215,000, why can't they say, hey, this is what we use that money for?
Or somebody come in and at least explain what they're doing. with
Yeah,
it.
they don't have to violate the HIPAA laws. Tell me how you spend the money.
And of course, due to inflation, like everything else, it used to be 90,000.
Well, 75 when I first got on.
Was it 75?
Yeah.
And there was, at one time, there was another kind of a organization doing the same thing. And we made an effort to try and bring the money to them instead of, because the law says it doesn't, at that time, didn't spell out Bowen, it spelled out the type of service, that we didn't get away with that either.
We have to be accountable for what we spend to the taxpayers, but just, this is one thing, think of what that would be in Washington DC, the amount of dollars that are unexplainable just like that. We got that much here.
I don't want to know.
That's all I got.
Councilman over here? Councilman Bailey?
I think, let our minutes reflect that the council applauds the efforts of State Trooper Joe McLaughlin, a Whitley County resident that went beyond the call of duty recently in a traffic accident. That we just appreciate his efforts.
Very good, thank you for that. To be so reflected. Councilman LaRue?
I've said enough.
Councilman Wheeler? Vice Chair Banks?
Do we need to approve our budget calendar, our dates that are tentatively set?
We should look at that. Everybody has a copy of that in front of them. Does anybody see anything that's not going to work for their schedule? Probably in particular the July 11th date with the all-day department head meetings.
I got a question for Janet. Before we start going through these budgets, can you come up with your anticipated income for next year? And present that with us. Okay.
That's actually one of the handouts that I've been talking about.
I got something just to throw out there. We always have Nadine, come in from Soil and Water. It actually takes her longer to drive downtown than it does that we spend with her. I mean, do we want her to come or not? I mean, maybe it's good to see her, and I don't know whether that's a good PR thing, or are we wasting her time and taking a couple minutes of ours that we don't need to see? I mean, I don't care, but
I think that's probably exactly why in the past that our schedule doesn't stay real close to where it should be, and we get through it quicker than normal because we have different department heads scheduled, but there really probably isn't any reason to meet with them. But
you think it's good that she comes or not? I mean, like I say, I don't know, but we really don't, that doesn't change at all, and we just really don't say anything to her about it, really. She just kinda comes in, tells us who she is, and that's basically all it is.
Before we set the schedule for that day, I will meet with Jana. Maybe we can sit down and determine if there are some department heads that wouldn't be necessary for them to come unless they would want to come, and then we'll reach out to them.
I hate to deny somebody the opportunity, but
We'll bring it back up at the next meeting, though, the ones that we maybe.
you just take it upon yourself to work with.
Well, there might be somebody here, though, that wants to
Oh,
see
yeah.
a particular person, so bring it back up at the next
Okay.
meeting. Well, what is this?
Isn't there one
That won't give
thing
us
that
much
we
time.
don't really talk to her about, but they've got money, and we never ask her how much they got or what to do with it.
Who's that?
And that's a good time to find out.
Well,
I'm not opposed to a
we
comment.
don't have, we don't have that many face-to-faces with them, with everybody generally anyway, that it probably isn't a bad thing just to have that face-to-face for some, so if a question comes up or something.
Well, I wouldn't want to feel that they was neglected, that they thought we didn't care about them,
I think maybe we could leave it up to them too, if they would request to not come because they don't.
Next year.
Okay.
I think that'd be a good idea. Leave it up to them whether or not they want to come.
Because we can
I
make a
mean,
decision, maybe
for somebody
if we
like
make a
Water.
decision, if they don't come, that they come back to the second one. If we make a decision that doesn't set with what their requests are, or what their expectations are.
I think that's a good idea. Make their own decision.
I think I won't meet with them then.
You have anything else?
Show that in a minute.
No, sir.
He's not
Thank
gonna be
you.
here next year.
I have nothing, Jana.
Okay, did you guys want to approve that then? Is that okay?
Yes. Good for me.
Yep.
Okay, so,
Thanks for doing that.
yep, I just have two things. The first thing I'll talk to you about is the handout that you guys had for our local income tax distribution amounts. I gave you this year's final certified amounts and then next year's. The increase it went from 11 million roughly to about 14 million for next year that they're estimating. I'll get the final numbers, probably in October, November, and I'll get those to you as well, but it's a significant increase, and, it increases in seated certified shares, which is county general and public safety.
This might be a good opportunity for us to get our county general fund back healthy.
Rainy day fund especially.
Yeah, because we're needing some help.
So, and then this handout that I'm going to be passing down, we received an additional local income tax distribution. This is because what they certified for 2018, it was actually 15% over what they estimated. So if we're over that amount, they distribute that amount to us. So we received like an additional, I believe it was $864,984. And of that, the county received $473,131.90. So the rest was distributed to the other taxes within the county. And there's a breakdown on there.
Sweet. Where does that money go?
For us, it goes in county general, public safety, and Sigler as well. It's broken down, the same, it's the same distribution that we get money that we received from the state.
That's good.
So, more money that we weren't necessarily expecting to get, but it is our money, so.
I'd like to just say that I think we should commend our EDC for the growth that they've provided for us to be able to get the additional and for the going from 11 million to 14 million. It's just, I think John's done a great
My
job.
goodness, yeah.
His
Yeah.
group.
It's a pretty good boost.
It sure was. And they're still working.
Daniel, do you have anything for us today?
No, I do not.
Anybody from the audience, our dwindling audience, is there any comments or anything for the good of the cause? Okay, the meeting is adjourned.
George and Kim and I, we're gonna get Laura out, or making them guys wait upstairs.